Hi, my name's Chris Warren and I'm Professor of Wildlife and Conservation Medicine.
I'm Dr. Jill Shepherd. I lead the movement ecology and environmental ecotoxicology components.
My name is Dr. Anna Lasweth and I'm a Senior Research Officer on the Black Cockatoo Conservation Management Project.
We've been undertaking research on the health, demographics and ecology of black cockatoos for over 15 years. So we have 3 species of black cockatoos in the southwest of WA. All 3 are endemic to the southwest and all 3 are threatened. We have the Carnaby's cockatoos, the Ngoolarks cockatoos and the forest red-tailed black cockatoos. Black cockatoos are really iconic birds. They're very conspicuous, they're large birds, they're black generally in terms of their feathering, but there's some differences. So the Carnaby's and Ngoolarks cockatoos have white panels for their tail feathers, and the forest red-tailed black cockatoos will have red panels for the tail feathers for males, whereas the females will have red and orange and yellowish feathers. We also often hear them before we see them, so you can hear their calls for several kilometres. You'll hear them flying through from a distance, and then you'll see the flocks come through and they fly so gracefully. There's a real connection that people have to these birds, and the other thing is because all 3 species will spend varying amounts of time on the Swan coastal plain, people see them around their houses and they see them around their workplaces, and the community generally just loves these birds. In terms of the ecological research, we've been tracking all 3 species of black cockatoos across their distribution range. So we attach a GPS tag and an Argos satellite tag, and these tags will molt out with the bird's feathers over time, but generally we're able to track them for up to about a year. And we're able to gather really critical information in terms of how the flocks move across the landscape, better understanding their habitat use, and also identifying critical foraging, roosting and breeding habitat.
We've been studying the health of wild Carnaby's cockatoo populations for over 15 years. And one of the ways that we've been able to do this is to study nestlings of this species in breeding areas across the habitat range. We're testing for various pathogens which can be significant, and these include beak and feather disease, avian polyomavirus and chlamydia psittaci. Another aspect of our research has been to investigate a hind limb paralysis syndrome in Carnaby's cockatoos, also known as CHIPS. This emerged about a decade ago and we really didn't know what had caused it, but after a substantial amount of testing, it now appears that it's due to exposure to a type of pesticide. And we're trying to identify the toxin that's responsible for the disease, which is the next step towards trying to prevent this from occurring in this very important species.
There are a number of key threatening processes. The primary one is habitat loss, but the birds are also threatened by competition with other species for nest hollows, as well as anthropogenic factors such as vehicle strike and illegal shooting. Our research aims to address these factors. We aim to try and determine whether disease is a threatening process for these birds, and it's really important that we understand the health of breeding populations, and we can achieve this through the health research that we're undertaking. Prior to us undertaking the tracking studies, there was very little known about the way the birds moved through the landscape and the way they used the habitat. And it was really hard to identify what was critical habitat for these species. And by tracking these birds, we're able to gain all of that information.
In addition to the tracking data, which gives us the position of the birds in the flock in space, we can also extract the energetics information, which allows us to realise exactly what the energetic cost is of a particular habitat to the birds. And when we join with that the activity information, whether a bird is roosting or foraging or flying, we can use that information to feed into a habitat suitability model to evaluate which habitats are more or less suitable for the birds.
The results of this study have helped fill in gaps in our knowledge and will help guide conservation efforts both in breeding areas as well as during rehabilitation efforts.
The end goal of the analysis and the modelling is to produce a species distribution model, and we can then use that to predict moving forward how that will impact species distribution across its entire range through the southwest.
We will continue to work with government agencies at all levels, local, state and federal, so that our research can inform decision making and get the best possible outcomes for conservation management of these threatened species.